Hi there. Let's explore the capabilities of the Anaconda Assistant. This tool is so powerful that it can even help us start solving a particular programming problem if we find it challenging. To illustrate this feature of the Anaconda Assistant, let's click the plus sign in the top left corner of the screen to create a new notebook. Then we'll task the Anaconda Assistant with a clear and concise challenge. Create a function that takes a list object as a parameter and that counts the number of values in it smaller than 20. Wait for a couple of seconds, and brilliant! We obtain not only a solution, but also a suggestion for an argument value to use with the function. Let's run both pieces of code in the notebook. First, create the function that performs the required task, and then apply it to a list containing the values provided by the assistant. As you can see, it works correctly. Perfect! Now, let's compare the structure of the new function to the one we discussed earlier in our lecture on coding in Jupyter. In terms of structure and functionality, both functions are identical, right? Okay, right. This means we can be quite happy about the assistant's output and our own work. The only difference between the two functions is their variable and function names used within them. So let's use this as an opportunity to see how we can continue our conversation with the AI assistant in such scenarios. Remember, try to always be as precise in your communication with it as possible. Suppose our task now becomes renaming all object names from the piece of code we just obtained to match those used in our lecture. For instance, we can directly write and execute rename function to count. Good. What else do we need to do? Change the input parameter name from LST to numbers. Click Enter or the green button to submit the request. And again, we obtained a good response. In fact, I can address two necessary modifications with a single request. As usual, I'll try to be as precise as possible. I'll ask about changing the iterator variable name to X and the count variable name to total. Execute, and we end up with the code we used in the lecture. Did you notice how using the correct terminology helped us proceed with a single request? Let's run the last two cells we obtained to execute the function with the desired name and apply it once to a sequence called myList. Here's a moment in which we need to be very careful. This is also where our experience as programmers can play a key role. While we may generally be satisfied with our work in this Anaconda notebook, sometimes asking too many questions may lead the assistant to a point where it contradicts itself. To illustrate my point, I'll intentionally ask a vague and confusing question, contrary to the principle of concise and specific inquiries. I'll ask several times if the function just created was meaningful. If you check the responses attentively, you will notice that they are not identical, and that the AI tool might start having doubts. Therefore, we must carefully read what the assistant suggests and spot potential errors. If a mistake has been made, you can start a new chat or go a few steps back. To do the latter, press the bin icon associated with the questions you'd like to disregard until you get back to the point where you're comfortable continuing. After going back a few steps, I can ask the assistant if it could find an alternative solution to the initial task. Perhaps by using a while instead of a for loop. To do that, I'll type and execute the following request. Can you create a function that has the same purpose and structure, but uses a while instead of a for loop? Note that the models generated a function using essentially the same variable names as where we resume the conversation. For instance, the function name is count, the parameter name is numbers, and so on. Run the newly obtained code from the chat to confirm you're satisfied with the work. Great! This type of communication can be handy, mainly when dealing with large datasets or more complex and longer sheets of code. In such situations, you could remove parts of the conversation to return to a point when you were satisfied with the AI's output and proceed from there. To conclude, please remember that when used carefully, the assistant can provide solutions just in the blink of an eye, potentially saving you hours of work. As you can see, this is only possible if we ask the right questions. To do this effectively, we need a solid understanding of programming in general, and Python in particular. The more we know, the further the AI assistant can take us. Therefore, it's essential to acquire a broad range of Python skills and engage in as many exercises as possible to optimize the use of this prompt generator. To help you with the latter, you can download the guidelines we've provided as a resource for this video. This will do for now. Thanks for watching.